Writing a to-do list can be a great way to manage your time and be more productive. But the problem is many to-do lists can end up looking a little bit like this, that they become super crammed and cluttered and can actually end up making us feel more overwhelmed and stressed. I don't know if you've done that, where you write your schedule for the week and then you take one look at it and you go, it totally freaks you out and puts you into an unproductive state. So if your to-do lists are triggers for anxiety and palpitations, then clearly something has gone wrong. So in this video, I want to share with you how you can create to-do lists that don't overwhelm you. There's going to be two parts to this video. Part number one, I'm going to explain why you sometimes feel overwhelmed, and part number two, I'm going to show you how to create a to-do list that doesn't totally freak you out, but one that actually excites you and makes you more focused. So why do we get overwhelmed? Well, in order to answer that question, we need to talk about this guy here, and that's cognitive psychologist George Miller. So back in 1956, Miller conducted a now famous research study on short-term memory. And what he found was that as human beings, we can only ever handle 7 ± 2 pieces of information at the one time. And this was the maximum. The norm was more like about 3 or 4. That when we hit this threshold, the brain starts to fizzle out, things become a little bit foggy, and we struggle to be able to think clearly. In other words, we become overwhelmed. So what this means is when we are looking to manage tasks inside our minds, it can be very easy to hit that threshold. It doesn't matter what your career or lifestyle is, you will have enough things in your life easily to go over that threshold and to kick in that feeling of being overwhelmed. So in order to stop this, the answer is pretty simple. You need to reduce the number of things you're managing inside your mind. So to explain, let's use the metaphor of doing a jigsaw. So when you're doing a jigsaw, if you just throw all of the pieces onto the table and randomly try to fit them together, then it's going to be pretty overwhelming, potentially even stressful, because there's nothing to differentiate between each of the pieces. But if you arrange the pieces into groups or themes, then it starts to make sense. It's a lot easier to manage inside your mind. So this is the same when it comes to managing our lives. If you're trying to think of lots of things at the one time, then overwhelm is inevitable. However, if you group all of your tasks into themes, it prevents overwhelm, your head starts to clear, and all of a sudden you can focus again. So that's how to reduce overwhelm, but how does this relate to writing to-do lists? Well, when you write your to-do list or your schedule, what you don't want to do is to write down a big list of all the tasks you have to complete. That's just going to overwhelm you. You want to arrange them into groups, you want to put them into themes. So how do you actually do that? What's the practical side of this? Well, what I do is I use 3 different groups or 3 different themes. And I got this from the book Indistractable by Nir Eyal. He calls these the 3 domains of life. So number 1 is your personal life, number 2 is your relationships, and number 3 is your working life. So personal is anything to do with recreation. So we're talking health and fitness, what you want to do for fun, what your hobbies are, what you do in your downtime. Your relationships is anything to do with social interactions. So your family, your friends, your loved ones. And your work is of course your career or your job. And what you want to do is when you're writing your to-do list or your schedule, you want to fit each of the different tasks into one of these different groups. So that way, even though you might have lots of things on your to-do list, you're only ever focusing on one of 3 things. So that's a cool little trick to reduce overwhelm, to manage things better inside your mind. Now, as an alternative, if you want to make it even simpler, you can arrange this into 2 different themes. The famous self-help guru Brian Tracy once said that you should only ever be focusing on 2 things in life, your work and your family. And I think that's fine, but I think that's pretty old-fashioned. You know, there's lots of other things that we can do to enjoy life. You know, we don't live in the 1950s anymore.
I'm sorry, I just find your whole approach perverse.
Life is not an episode of Mad Men, so for me, I find that a little bit old-fashioned. I prefer using the 3. So as an additional benefit, this is also a great way to make sure that you're addressing the main areas of your life. Some people are just all work and no play, but by allocating tasks into each of these 3 domains, it makes sure that you're thinking about how you're managing life in a more global way. You're not just putting all of your eggs in the one basket, so to speak. So that's how to stop feeling overwhelmed, by writing your to-do lists properly, where you take all of the tasks you need to do and you arrange them into themes. And by doing doing this, it helps you start each day with clarity and, most importantly, end it with satisfaction. So give this a go. Grab a piece of paper, do your to-do list, and remember to arrange each of your tasks into these 3 domains. That way you'll declutter your mind, you'll feel more relaxed, less overwhelmed, and it'll just help you focus on the things that matter. And if you feel a compelling urge to like this video, then hey, I'm not going to stop you. Go for it. So have fun with this, let me know how you get on in the comments below, and I'll see you later on.